Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Cool Down Lap. Today is the 17th of February. Um, Joined here tonight with the usual group. We got Justin Thaler here with us and the voice of Midwest Motorsports, James Johnson. We also have two guests with us here tonight. We're joined here with CJ Barzak and Kyle Ryan, both of the Road Series racing side of the business here. So we're going to go ahead get hopped into our guest segment here tonight with these guys, and hopefully we can touch up on some of the real racing that happened over the weekend towards the end of the show. So hang with us here if you're listening for that. But let's go ahead and bring our guests in here. CJ, Kyle, how you guys doing tonight?
Go
Doing
ahead,
well, thank
Kyle.
you.
No, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you.
Awesome. So I was told leading up to this podcast that are you two actually stepbrothers or related somehow?
We're identical twins.
Identical twins. Okay. Um, I'll
Which
take
one
your
is
word for it.
Which, which
I
one?
could see the confusion with the naming on iRacing, but
Which,
yeah,
which one of you guys is less handsome?
probably me. That'd be CJ for the
Brutal
ladies.
honesty.
Maybe.
Normally you're supposed to say it's the other one, but we'll give you that. So
Gotta be hard on yourself sometimes.
there you go, man. I mean, you
Character.
got to get used to it, man. Life beats you down pretty hard.
Sure does.
So you guys both race in our road series and basically run the same liveries. You're basically running a team together. How long have you guys been running in our road series? Well,
I
start with CJ.
Go ahead. Sure. I've been around. This is my second full season, but I did a partial third. So not very long. All things considered, I'd say.
Okay, so you were around in our GT4 series, and uh, this is the first multi series season. Okay, Kyle, how about you?
I hopped in last season at Road Atlanta. That was my first race. I only had maybe 4 races last season with y'all, and this is my first full season.
Okay. So Kyle, since you're newer in this prospect or this racing with the league stuff, how's it going so far? You enjoying it?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I've been learning a lot. I'm getting a lot faster. My racecraft's getting a lot better. I don't have much time for officials. With how much time I do have to race, is most of it spent practicing for the league. But when I do get to race officials, it's gotten noticeably better.
Oh, awesome. Well, glad to hear that. CJ, I'm sure you're enjoying your time, right?
Yeah. I've gotten pretty lucky the last few races. Was it the last two were top four, and then the first place, something like that. And then the race before that, I didn't do so hot, but I'm compared to when it was GT4's last season, I'm doing a heck of a lot better.
Oh yeah, congratulations on your win last
Thank
Tuesday.
you. Thank you.
So CJ, with Kyle coming into the league, like, did you give him any kind of pointers or advice or anything, or did you just kind of like throw him to the wolves? Like, okay, he's going to learn.
Uh, it's kind of trial by fire, but the amount of time that he and I spend looking at telemetry together is a lot. If I was one of these iRacing coaches out there, it would be paying my income for sure.
Yeah. So, would you say you two kind of get together throughout the week, then kind of break things down and go over like, I guess, strategies going into the race, like best lines or breaking points and such?
I wouldn't call it by any means a scheduled like meetup. But this is ever since I started kind of sim racing, I haven't really touched other games with a few exceptions. So if I'm at home and at the computer, I'm either creating a livery, watching a race, or racing. So there's always some sort of race discussion going on.
Oh, that's awesome. Um, Oh, fantastic. Justin, I'll bring you into this, man. You run with these guys. You got any questions for them?
So I guess so Kyle, like you're relatively new. Have you always kind of been a race fan? Because I know CJ was, and a long time ago talked about, oh yeah, I'm trying to get my brother into it and everything else. So like, I guess what finally made you, I guess, decide, yeah, I'm gonna give this thing a whirl, or like did you have prior race fandom or a race series that you liked and just decided like, oh, like I got some spare time, I would like to maybe pick up this hobby and see where it goes.
No, I actually, my first real introduction to it was kind of just like watching highlights and clips. I didn't really care for what was going on or pay attention to any series and stuff like that. And then when he got into Midwest Motorsports, I started watching his races, and they looked like a blast. But there's that barrier to get in because it's even just getting like a Logitech wheel and pedals. It's not the cheapest thing. So I just kind of I watched and I knew it was something I wanted to try. He had changed up his setup and then he sent me out his Logitech stuff. So I started with iRacing for a little bit before I decided to get here. The plan was to start, feel confident, and then come into the league. And it just kind of taken off since. Went down. Going to be sending out that Logitech to another buddy of ours and keep the hand-me-down thing going. Got my full rig now, and racing is pretty much, or motorsports rather, has absorbed just about everything.
Yeah, we watched the Daytona, and Kyle's never watched an oval race in his life, and we sat there and talked about it the whole time.
Yeah, I've loved watching the Daytona. Loved watching the Daytona 24 as much as I could because I was MIA for the weekend, planning on going to Sebring since it's only 2 hours away from me in March. Yeah, it's what I follow now, and it's taken over. I'm pretty glad it has.
We're glad to have you here.
At least someone
Yeah, very.
is.
No, very, very, very glad to be here. Met a lot of really great guys.
That's what it's about for us. So glad it all worked out. I'm glad you stuck with it. I mean, I've noticed, you've definitely your abilities have really improved, and you're contending up there now. So that's obviously a really good feeling. And CJ, you've been here a while. Like, do you think kind of like, you mentioned your rocky, I guess not really rocky, but a rocky start, joining the league. Do you think maybe it was the adaptation of the GT4, or do you think maybe something with the GT3 is maybe clicked a little better and you found it maybe easier to drive or something?
Definitely the adaptation, I would say. When I initially started on iRacing, like naturally everyone does the MX5s and all that fun stuff. But now that they have the split road and formula or open wheel series, back when I started, it was still joined. And I mostly drove F4 and F3s. And that's where pretty much all of my experience came from. So jumping into the GT4s was kind of a shock because there's zero downforce. So it was a learning curve from the beginning. And then I started dabbling in GT3s because it's like, oh, it's like a GT4 but faster and with downforce. And I think they just work for me, just because I'm familiar with actually like not just chucking a car into a corner and relying on just the tires, but I'm familiar with aero and downforce, and it suits me better.
It's really funny you say that. You know what we actually did a couple seasons of before we did GT4?
The threes, yeah.
Yeah, where the hell were you
Yeah.
then?
I didn't know leagues were a thing.
I didn't know leagues were a thing.
I didn't. I found Midwest via Travis Rowe, streaming on Twitch, and then I just kept on coming back to watch him. Um, and it was, what was it, Tuesdays he was running Midwest, and Wednesdays he was running another league. And those 2 days I'd get home from work, pick on his stream, and he and Jesse Coffey kept trying to get me into the league. Like, I'm nowhere near competitive enough. Not familiar with the GT4s. And one day I just did it. So here we are. You could thank those two.
Well, you gotta dip your toes in it somehow, and if you are you look at like if you're looking for more than I'm gonna call it the inconsistency of the racing on the live service end, which would be official races. Leagues are a really good thing, and when you find a league that you like, and I think it's safe to say you both enjoy it. At Midwest Motorsports, it's much more just about getting in and racing. So you guys are definitely wholly involved in the community and helping and chatting and having a good time and everything else. So we definitely appreciate the both of you being here and choosing to be here.
Hey, thanks, man. No,
Yeah.
but for real, league racing is just, as a whole, I'm sure across the board, another animal. And you come across dudes that far outpace their iRating, and you realize that that's no longer something you could judge someone's pace or racecraft off of. And then you go and look at their actual like iRacing profile. They're super rapid, but the only thing they run officials on is special events and endurance races. And you know immediately that they spend their time in leagues, because there's no other way unless they just run laps solo all the time. But you don't learn racecraft running solo. That just doesn't happen.
Yep.
And kind of to piggyback off that, one of the great things is being able to trust the guys you're around, knowing how everyone races, or they try to be clean as clean as they can be. Accidents do happen, but like on Saturday, with Suzuka coming up, I spent a good hour with Landon Sprinkle and Hopper doing side by sides through the track just to see where it's comfortable, what kind of passes can be made, where it's not safe, and it's better just to back out, get behind the guy. But knowing that you can do that back to back, and when it comes to race day, I can trust those guys to not take me out when we're going into a hairpin side by side.
For
You
sure.
can trust those guys.
Just them.
Yeah, not me.
Not me.
No one else.
No, anyone here.
Yeah, I was
Anyone
gonna
here.
say,
It's very
you see
respectful.
you see that 8 Porsche, don't go side by side into the S Benz at Suzuka. That's all I gotta say.
You just don't go side by side in the S's at Suzuka. You're going to lose 2
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah.
I'd try it in
no,
the dry, but definitely not in the wet.
Dude, I'm running
Yeah.
laps right now and I can't stay on track.
are you two looking forward to the Suzuka race?
No.
If it was
Hard no.
dry and I wasn't starting the pits, then yes, I absolutely would be. The rain is going to make it really interesting, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. I did an AI race this morning with a full endurance stint with the same setups we use, and with the GT3s coming in, it gets really tricky trying to pass, and even trying to set up a pass on GT4s. It's tough. There's not many spots where it really makes sense to try and do it without really sacrificing your time and their time or causing an incident.
Yeah. Speaking of the weather playing havoc here, CJ, we'll get your thoughts first, and then Kyle. What do you guys think of the Tempest system? Do you feel like it's made the racing kind of more interesting in the league, or just do you feel like it's been more of a pain to try and figure out?
I prefer the Tempest system. I don't want to know if it's actually going to rain or not. And I think it takes away a lot of planning, because where were we last year? Montreal, when Odell went dries at the start.
Mhm.
and then ended up winning by a ton, just because he was able to keep it together and actually pull it off. Like something like that, we knew what the forecast looked like. We knew, or we were able to make sessions to exactly replicate that. Now, given he's the only one that pulled it off, but I don't like the idea of being able to replicate an actual race session 1-to-1
I
for
get you.
practice. I want to be left in the unknown.
I get you.
Like we all think it's going to race tomorrow or it's going to rain for the race tomorrow. There's still a chance it doesn't, and there's a chance that it will start dumping halfway through, even if it doesn't rain. We don't know.
Or it could start rain and not and clear up. Interesting.
Or
Kyle,
it could just rain in the S's. Who knows?
yeah, I mean that would be very interesting. Kyle, your thoughts on it, man?
I think I have to agree. It adds an element of unknown that makes it something that you can't fully plan for. So like Imola, a lot of the sessions that were put up were dry or fully wet. I ran some solo that were soaking wet, and then towards the end, CJ had put up a few where it rained in what would be like the practice or coming up to the race, but was dry the rest of the run, which somehow happened to match exactly what happened to the race last week, which is
Yeah,
why
I got lucky.
a good handful of people knew we can start on dries. And it's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of time spent. Would I prefer knowing? Maybe, only because then I know exactly what to work on. But I do like having to spend time practicing dry, practicing wet, practicing the track being wet but not actively raining. But then there's still, like, we can practice and have as many sessions as we want. That still doesn't really tell us what's going to happen, because when we have a full grid, the track dries a lot faster if it was wet. So there's always that element that you have to figure out on the fly, instead of you've already planned, you've prepped, you know exactly what you're going to do. You kind of have to figure it out while you're doing it, and I like that.
Non-race related question.
Oh
Which
boy,
one of you guys is older?
that would be CJ.
Hmm. Older and uglier. That's a rough combination.
Yeah, dude, and taller.
Taller.
It's actually quite a bit taller too. It's not just like a hair.
Are you sure you guys are like twins at all, or?
Yeah, if you put our older brother next to us, we look like triplets. It's pretty wild.
Which
Okay,
one of you is
all
the
right.
favorite?
Sorry,
Which one of you guys is the favorite?
depends on who you're asking.
Yeah.
Depends on
Lately,
who
it's
sees enough
Kyle.
to move further. No, that's great. It's James. I just wanted to reach out to you guys and make sure you guys know that you guys really are like the perfect example of why Midwest Motorsports was created in the first place. So I'm going to say it because I don't think Justin would say it, and Eric's not here to speak for him. But one of the reasons that Eric and Justin created the league was to bring people together and have a place where people can learn and not take each other out and just try to go for high rating all the time. And I noticed that on the fun facts form, Kyle, your comment was this season different from last season. Your comment this season was your goals were to actually be competing in the race, not just here turning laps. And I think you've done that with a great show at Imola. I know you just said it was luck, but a lot of times you make your own luck. And CJ, with your win, you had to be in position the right time, and I think that says a lot to your preparation that you just mentioned about going through all the different scenarios so that you were prepared to take advantage of any situation that comes, and you knew exactly how much fuel to take and when to take it and which tires to start on, and all that together was from you learning from each other on the platform or over the past couple of years on your, I call it racing IQ. So yeah, I just think it's really cool that to see it all unfold in front of us. Um, so congrats to both of you for your progress. And DJ, was that your first league win this week?
Yeah, first league win, first league podium.
first podium even.
It's a big night.
Yeah, it was a good night. Sorry to Johan for the mishap, but should have waited another lap.
Yeah, it was so close. If we can speak on Imola, CJ, you mentioned it in your interview that you thought he might slow down his pace just enough to not need that extra lap, but he couldn't do that with you running him down so quick. So all of those
Yeah,
things had to play out just
yeah.
right. So you
I
called
mean,
it.
there's a lot of factors that could have come up with that. If I got, I mean, I was pretty unlucky with traffic, and not trying to just bully my way through to try and to secure the position. I was being kind and generous to my fellow GT4s, at least as much as I could have been. Um, but yeah, I mean, there were a lot of different factors that could have secured the win for Johan, and it just ended up at the end that he had to save too much, and I was able to just go full pace as fast as I could because he absolutely had more pace than I did at Imola. Um, it just ended up that the strategy worked out for me.
Yeah, I mean, you started on dries, and like, oh, you were still behind me. I mean, I I'm self-admittedly bad in the rain, but like you were on me like still pretty early, and I was like, man, I was expecting,
I think it was lap 2 that I was on you.
so, and getting back to the fuel thing with Johan was like when he pit, even I like in my head I was like, I don't think he's gonna make it because he was well in before any type of fuel window,
Yeah,
and
I'm
that's like
amazed
I
that
took the gamble
sorry.
and just stay. I took the gamble and just stayed out because I was like, well, I'm already on wet. Like, I'm not gonna lose all that time just switching to dries now because I don't think it'd become a fuel game there at the end, and he just ran out of time.
Yeah, because I think we did 33 laps, something like that, and he pit at lap 6, and a full fuel tank would have brought him was 13 laps, so that would have brought him to lap 25. So he would have needed the extra stop, no matter what. But the fact that
Yeah,
he made it as far as he did was remarkable.
lift and coast, baby.
It was amazing. I was watching him too. We were watching him in the broadcast. Adam had cameras, and we were listening to Johan and watching him. He was also being cautious around the other GT4 cars as he was going through it, but also, um, yeah, it's amazing super save. I think the difference was like 7 laps earlier than the
Yeah, it
schedule
was
stop
7.
that you made. So I mean that's incredible just to come up a quarter of a lap short. We were glad he made it across the line.
Yeah. Luckily, he had the pace to build the gap to Shea behind and keep a podium.
He'll be okay.
Yeah.
This one isn't gonna hurt him too bad.
It definitely made
Yeah.
for an exciting broadcast. Me and Adam were both up on the edge of our seat and going crazy when it actually happened. Just incredible racing. And which brings me to the next question. This is for both of you. I want to ask Kyle first. First of all, again, Kyle, I remember last season you only raced like 4 or 5 races, but you know, out of 35 drivers, you're lucky to make it inside the top 20, I think. And now you're 4th place at Imola in class was a testament to how far you've come. Um, and so, what is there like a Midwest Motorsports uh, memory that sticks out in your brain the most, or what do you like most about the league, Midwest Motorsports? And if you were the captain's seat for a day, what might you do different?
Well, we'll start with a memory. It's definitely gonna be the first race going through Atlanta. No, it wasn't Atlanta. It was Road America. Just 'cause I spent a lot of time prepping for that just to come into the race, and I had I had a lot of nerves coming into it because I didn't want to set a precedence that I might be the guy that's overly aggressive and not giving space or pushing people off. The main goal was to not ruin someone else's race. But it was a fantastic race. I had a great time. I was hooked right from the start with that. I forgot the other questions. If I was in the boss's seat,
Most about the league, and what do you like? If you were the boss, what would you do?
what I like most about the league, there's that bit of camaraderie. I like chatting with everybody and just hanging out, seeing the same guys. Sometimes day over day, whether it's in Discord or if there's practice sessions up, it's always the same dudes, and we're always being able to have a chat and catch up. Gotten to meet a lot of great people and keep in touch with a handful of them through Discord, and get to learn about each other. It's been awesome. If I was in the boss's seat, what would I change? That's a fantastic question.
Who are we kicking out?
That's the tricky question here.
Who are we kicking out?
I
You're not gonna offend us, man. Whatever you want to say.
Reverse the start grids.
Come back to me if you want. Reverse.
if we did a reverse grid, that would be awesome. I actually don't know if there's anything I'd say or anything I'd change. Maybe the barrier to entry for GT3s. However, I also understand that because it does help keep a full grid between classes, not just letting people jump up to GT3s. I really only say that because I have been racing those in GTPs more, and I really, really like them.
By
Actually,
that, do you mean, sorry to interject and not be one of the interviewers, but I want clarification. Do you mean no class split based on I rating and just you register for this car or this car?
yeah. But as I mentioned, I get it because it does. The GT4 field may be smaller if that's the case, or if more people just want to race GT3, we might have 30, 40 GT3s and a handful of GT4s that they're fighting each other, but the grid's not as big. There may not be as much competition. So I get it.
So, if I may, because we have a very interesting. I can give you some backstory to that. We did try to do a GT4 GT3 league many seasons ago. At that time, we weren't, I guess, as big in our Road Series presence as we are now. But at that time, it was completely open. So when you registered, you did pick which car class you wanted to compete in. And I think by week 3, we were down to only on average 4, 5, maybe 5 GT4 drivers showing up. So we had to consolidate basically everybody into a GT3 class. This has been discussed about maybe doing it again, but my only thing, and I guess you have it on either side of the playing field, depending on what class you look at it, is, do you get guys who are stupid good in one compared to the other? And then that split doesn't quite, line up, I guess, in terms of ability, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And
Okay.
as I mentioned, I fully get it because if as that scenario falls off or plays out, if with the smaller grid or that smaller class, it's not as competitive, especially if one of those guys just happens to be a rocket and it's really 3 versus each other, and the one guy's just running laps around him every day or every race. So I
Good night,
again I
you,
get
Chase.
it that that was more of a personal thing because I'm looking forward to getting into that pro split and getting into a GT3.
We do have, we might have some surprises, on the next season because we're getting close to start asking officially some questions and get some ideas together because we are officially halfway through the season already. So, with that said, what about you, CJ? What do you like, dislike? What would you change? What's your favorite thing, or what do you got in store for us?
I mean, favorite thing is the easy answer, and it's the exact same as Kyle's, and I think anyone else would say it. I know Hopper would, I know Chase would. It's the people. Like, no matter what, there's someone to talk to. If you want to just talk nonsense, whatever topic, if you want to talk racecraft, if you want to talk strategy, there's always somebody. And everyone's super friendly, at least that I've spoken with. What I dislike or what I would change though, that's the hard one, dude. Maybe, and this might be far fetched and it might have been up for discussion, maybe a third split.
Hmm.
And
Like
I
doing
only
a full, like almost an IMSA.
maybe, but I don't know, or like a split within a split, if that makes sense. Like you've got like a different division within like a GT3 or a GT4,
So you're saying like GT3 Pro Am, GT4 Pro Am,
something
maybe?
like
Is that
that,
what you're
maybe.
talking about?
Silver.
Yeah.
Why do you try like? Listen, man.
Scoring would be a joy.
Listen, man.
What was that, Kyle?
Scoring would be a lot of fun for that.
Oh yeah, it would.
First of all, yeah, Steve's gonna be pissed off of that
Sorry,
suggestion.
Steve.
Secondly, do you know how much behind the scenes crap we do
Hey man, I'll
when
help.
it comes
Just let me know.
I can already see the Steve is typing in road admin chat.
Absolutely
Yeah,
not.
well, when
I'll
CJ
help. Just tell me how.
when CJ drops out of this voice chat here in about 15 more seconds, we'll know where Steve's. No,
I'm getting an earful
I
from
mean,
him.
I mean, possibly. It's a. I'm glad you guys understand. It's not just a hey, let's do this
Hey,
and
just do the
everything's
thing.
gonna. Yeah, I'm glad you
mean,
guys at least say, hey, I would like
like
this differently, but I understand why.
it's off the books with most people in the league, except for most of the AM field, yourself and Josh. Like the one thing that I'm trying to put together, it's a lot of work. I mean, and
Mhm.
I've barely touched the surface. I'm still waiting for you to get back to me, by the way. But anyways,
Send me a
it's
follow up.
okay.
Reach out to my
Uh,
secretary, schedule a meeting.
it's uh it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
There is a
It very
league
much is.
suggestion thread, you know, um, so you can always put that in there and see where it goes.
So we can request a Midwest Motorsports Rolex for the series winner.
Hey, that's not a bad recommendation.
You can put in the league recommendations. Doesn't mean it's going to happen.
That's right.
By the way, there is a donation link as well.
Oh, true. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
Midwest
race winner Casio or something. I don't know.
There you go. So I do have a question for CJ. The Juice. Um, we noticed the Have Fun logo inside your car one race, and ever since then it's kind of stuck with us. And I noticed you have it on the inside of your GT3 as well. Tell us about that and where it came from.
Yeah. Um, it actually where it came from, I 100% lifted it from a beanie that Kyle and I actually both owned. That quite literally just said "Good luck, have fun," and I'm quite literally going to give you the exact same response last time you asked me, which is somewhere in a YouTube short. Um, it's it's a reminder that like if I have a weird incident or I get upset with myself or frustrated, that we're at the end of the day we're doing it for fun. Like that's it. There's no reason to beat yourself up over it. It's just a simple reminder.
Well,
Okay.
do you have fun?
Dude, yeah. I
Okay,
wouldn't
I'm
be
gonna
here
make you
week
not
after
have
week.
fun tomorrow then.
I mean, there's a couple drivers that have almost made me not have fun, but we won't name them.
I
No
mean,
name and shame
you
in
just
a
had
public
your
setting.
chance to whenever you
Oh,
were
nope.
given the captain's chair.
I'm not doing it. I will not do it in a public forum.
He's got a list. It's hanging up next to the sim rig.
It's very short, but there's a list. But I'm still having fun. don't take this away from me.
Oh boy.
Yeah, there's
I think
there's
I,
one or
I
two that I will 100% hold the corner as hard as I can, no matter the outcome. If I deserve the space in that corner, I'm not backing out for a few
you heard it
drivers.
here first. He's sticking his nose in. Oh man. That's all I got, man. This has been fun. What do you got, James? Anything?
Yeah, thanks again for showing up and showing out, man. You guys really are the epitome of why this league was created in the first place, and it shows in both your attitude and your performance on the track. So I would say keep it up, and we're looking forward to it. And um, yeah, I'm excited about seeing what's next. Thanks for the suggestion about the in race reporter. We're going to do that again. Your turn might come around again, CJ. So
Oh,
we'll
that's
get there.
fine.
I think we got
That
somebody
was
else.
fun though. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that.
Hope it wasn't too distracting, but you proved that the concept works, and just by asking. So I'm glad you took a chance and asked. And
Yeah,
um,
not a good race for me, that one. It started
oh,
out
that's okay.
fantastic, but
Hey, we all have those
what was
kinds
the
of
Red
races.
Bull Ring? Yeah,
Yeah.
Red Bull Ring. I do have a question for Justin though, if we have time.
No, we're all out, buddy. You've
Go ahead.
overstayed your welcome.
What do you want to change, dude? You run the thing.
Oh, there's a lot I would
What's
change.
something that you've disliked this season, given it's a an effective test season to see how this would run? What's something you've disliked?
Uh, I don't have to answer. That's the glory of me being me. I don't have
Oh
to give
man.
an answer.
We're gonna cop out of it, huh?
We're all out of time.
You have to ask Mike Harris how that goes.
Personally,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
quite a bit. We've done reverse grids with sprint races. Um, were you there for that, James? When we did sprint races with it? Yeah, you've been broadcasting since, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so we used to do one season we did reverse grids the whole field. So we would do a 20-minute sprint race, and then we used to only give out the top 10 points for the sprint race. So we thought that was a good way to help incentivize people to actually race in the sprint race and try and
Yeah.
get up in front. And then we would flip the whole field. Then we would follow it up with a 1 hour, standard format race.
Sounds
We've
like fun.
done, yeah, we used to do sprint race, and then it changed to sprint race with only the top 10 inverted. I kind of missed the sprint races. I thought they were a lot of fun. I think a lot of car choice. I really enjoyed the GT4s. I thought they were a lot of fun, and I thought the racing was the best we've ever had. TCRs would be really, really fun to try again.
If I have to learn how to drive a TCR, I will not be a happy man, but I'll still be here.
Well, you can look up above your rear view mirror and you can read "have fun" every time you get
Nope.
irritated.
We're gonna change it to hate.
TCRs are a hell of a lot of fun. You can door bang with them. The racing's close. You have to learn kind of a little better how to manage tires, just due to the fact they're front wheel drive.
So
Honestly, I
You
think a
wouldn't
lot of
change anything. That was a lot of a
no,
non-answer.
no, I think a lot of the things I would like to see are outside of my control. I would like to see iRacing allow you to do fixed setups, but be able to change car assists like traction control and ABS with a
Yeah.
fixed setup. The fuel load thing is a little hard sometimes, especially when you have so many manufacturers trying to dial every single one in and get them all to pass with a certain point. I would like to be able to force tire changes.
That would be cool.
It'd be yeah, ACC you can do that. I think I don't know. I think testing the waters with a different car would be fun. I would like to do like the radicals or something.
mini
Yes,
stocks.
please.
Radicals would be
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, radicals are a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun in the F3 car, and if I could wave my magic wand in a perfect world, I would like to just make sure that everybody agrees that like just because a car has more horsepower or you think it's faster doesn't always necessarily make the racing as good as something that may not have as much power and downforce.
I think I was
Well,
swayed to the GT3s just because like it's something that I'm more familiar with. I'm not great with the P Cup, like when we had the voting before this season, and it's something that I could carry over to officials if I wanted to, and know that there's a populated series every single week, and use it
Oh,
in IMSA and all that. That was a big thing for me at the time,
I,
but I
I,
don't
I
really.
voted for the pickup. I don't even own it.
You don't own the P Cup?
I'm down to drive whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I'm all
You
about
don't
just,
know what you're in for.
well, I'm ready to learn. I'm
Pickup's a
ready to
lot of
learn.
fun.
P Cup is really fun. It's just tricky.
So yeah,
Honestly,
there's
a
So
lot of
that
another.
was
that,
my question.
yeah, some of those, I mean, with the fun runs coming up, could always try it out. Granted, it is relying on what others own, which does make
Mhm.
it a little more difficult.
GTPs and MX5s.
We try and
I will
keep the
die
fun
on that
runs
hill.
free and include. Well, I think you've bled out 3 times over by now. We try and keep the fun runs just something inclusive. Anybody can just hop in and they don't have to worry about whether they own it or buy it and things like that. So I know you
Everyone
guys
has an
get.
MX5.
I know you guys get that. We're gonna put. Have you guys ever had the desire to try oval racing?
Oval, absolutely.
We've talked about this, man. I talk about it in your streams.
Okay, well, we got a Friday night series if y'all don't have nothing to do at 9:30 on a Friday night.
It just means I need
Also,
more money.
a Sunday night series as well.
Oh, I'd 100% go trucks.
So what's the reason behind that? Is it just the
Because
feel
they're
behind the
trucks.
trucks? Oh wow,
They're trucks. They
Just
are cool.
because
That
they
does
simple
make
man.
it 10 times cooler.
I race a truck. Come on.
No, I've tried very few official ovals. I've enjoyed it. I just don't have the time for them right now.
It's a
Okay.
lot to dedicate, especially between the road series. You guys are practicing 3-4 times a week,
More than
depending
that,
on who
dude.
you are, 5, 6, 7. So it's a lot to try and dedicate to multiple series. So I got an
Can't be that
appreciation
hard.
for
You just
people
turn
that can do
left.
it.
Oh,
Whoa, whoa!
go get yourself an oval wheel. Sign up, son.
I'll do it with my formula wheel.
Oh gosh, I could only imagine.
All right, that's it.
I'm just trying
Brand's
to stir
hat.
the pot.
Brand's hat's next season. He's getting in it with the trucks.
Yeah, we've
Dude,
raced
Brand's last season was my worst race ever with the league.
we've raced the
It was
trucks
so
there, the
bad.
cup there, Xfinity at Brands Hatch. It's a blast.
Gonna do an oval, keep my wheel radius at 290, and send it on the GT wheel.
Yeah,
Don't
I
live.
won't have any tires by the end of
never live.
the first change.
It's rule 1.
Oh my gosh. All right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. We'll be getting into an hour. So
Hey, man, you
again,
ask road guys oval questions.
hey, we can get into it forever. But again, we appreciate you two coming on. We'd like to have you guys on again at some point in the future.
I am free every single day of the week.
Oh well, this makes it easy then. So our reschedule won't be too hard.
Cool.
However, Kyle, how's your schedule look, man? Are you free every day of the week?
Depends on the week. I'm in the reserves, so that's
Oh,
1 week. Yeah, 1 weekend out of the month, I'm out, which is why for Monza I'm gonna have very limited practice, but I'll do my best. Otherwise, yeah, I'm good to go.
awesome. Well, yeah, if we decide to have you both on again, same time at the same podcast, or I might split you guys up. We'll do an individual on each, but it's been fun. Glad to have both of you guys on here and learn a little bit about you. Congrats again, CJ, on the win. Kyle, congrats on the the strong runs you've been putting together in the road series, and we look forward to seeing what you guys do for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season and hopefully pulling out a podium.
How
You'll
keep
get
working
you'll
at it,
get a
man. You're getting
podium.
there.
Your
Yeah.
internet's working now, dude.
Hopefully, we'll be talking to both of you guys soon in the broadcast after a race again.
Maybe
Fingers crossed.
Monza and the following week after our next off week. Those 4 races are going to be solid, except for Coda.
All
Awesome.
right. Well,
Very good.
again, thanks, guys. We'll let you go here.
Appreciate it. Thank you
Later.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good night.
guys.
Thanks. 14 minutes apart, I think they told me.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Dang. Good people, great conversations. As kind of
Good
interested in
people.
hearing. I was kind of interested in hearing what your response was for what you would change differently in the road series. You did give a little bit of a word salad there before you got into the meat of the details, but
I got there, didn't I?
nowhere in that did I hear anything about running the mini stocks in the road series. So I was a little disappointed, but
It's not as easy as saying, "Hey, load this setup and it'll rip on any road course," you know. It's
Oh yeah, no, I give you props, man, putting that setup together for Daytona. There was a lot of work that went into that. So again, appreciate you for
great.
doing that.
It
But
was
it was
awesome.
definitely some fun racing.
you would have better time if you learned how to drive with 3 pedals.
Oh, dude, I would have had a better time if. Shut up. I think next time I'm just going to go sequential. Just the amount of
We
shifting that goes on in that thing, and whenever you miss a gear, it just you're done. So, um, we're going to go ahead and move on to the road series. They're out in Imola last week, correct, James?
Road series were at Emily this past week. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm going to hand it over to you so you can do a quick race recap with Justin. I didn't get to make it to that one.
Yeah. Oh man. Incredible racing. I think qualifying was set in a wet conditions. I think it dried out at the very end, but I think pretty much everybody qualified with wets and then finally went racing. It was a complete mixed bag. Um, a lot of the GT3s started in wets, with the exception of CJ Barzak. There were a couple others, and they, I think, went to lap 6 before the time differential was 5 seconds. So it was really quick to get the changeover. Uh, so then is those guys that started on dries, their advantage really ended up playing out. Some of the GT3s decided to wait it out until they knew they could make it, which was, I think, 3 laps longer. It was just madness. Justin, tell me how you started tire wise and how the first part of your race played out.
I started on wets, and let me tell you, the Mustang, it takes a lap or two to get the tires up to temp when you're on the wet compounds, and just try to kind of tiptoe my way around and stay out of trouble. I know some guys in front started on dries, and there at the beginning, man, Imola was just super rough. Contemplated starting on the dries, but like I said, even on the wets, the Mustang at least it's a handful to say the least. So just try to kind of stay out of that trouble. I saw some guys struggling a little bit. At some points I felt like I was maybe a little quicker in those first opening laps. I know Shea got behind me. I think he had an issue, but or no, I think he might have started behind me, but I was able to keep him honest back there till like all the pit cycle stuff counted. So the track dried up probably in what, 6 laps, 7 laps maybe.
Yep. Johan came in
And
6.
yeah, man, at that point, I was like telling Steve, I was like, I think it's too early, man. Like, I don't think he's gonna make that fuel window. I've kind of made my bed starting on the wets, and when he came out, we were kind of watching his lap times, and he was lights out fast on the dries. So, um, at that point though, like to be able to make the fuel window and everything, it was kind of a stay on it for me. I didn't want to lose any unnecessary time. It's a kind of I guess I'd say it's a medium um, pit length. Um,
Yeah.
so I just kind of made my bed and stayed on the wets, and somehow managed to get a 0x. So those extra bonus points will definitely come in handy. So didn't finish. I finished, I think, maybe top 10, but that's all I was kind of aiming for anyway. So overall, I'll add on the icing on the cake. With a 0x, it played out quite well.
Yeah, that's nice to do that, especially with a 40 plus car field. You started 11, finished 9th. Um,
Mm.
but again, CJ was the only one in the top 10 to start on wets. I'm sorry, to start on dries. So he was riding out, and um, by lap 3, he was P7, started P9, and yeah, just kind of waiting it out until the track came to him. I think the high car count maybe helped the track dry out some as well. I'm not sure if it ever really got dry. We were still seeing some spray, at least graphically, coming across in the broadcast. But being a 60-minute race, it was pretty straightforward with most of the 2 stops for the GT3s and 1 stop for the GT4s. Almost all the GT4s, however, started on the dries and just kind of rode it out. Ron Kabiltis, um, Kevin Bridges, Chet Miller, and Dan Gish all started on wets. But, um, Kyle Ryan, Ian Bakaitis, Jason Geyer in the AM gets my shout out. He was having a really good run, of course, till it went sideways. I think consistency was something he needs to work on. Ian Bakaitis was P5 until he spun coming out of Variante Alta and on dries. So it's just really finding that fine line of how hard do you push on the wrong tire and when do you change. Um, let's see. I do remember John Daniels in the Ferrari, one of the only Ferraris in the field, going up and back to the field and spinning and working his way back up to the um, inside the top 10. Not sure exactly where he finished, but by the 15-minute mark, CJ Barzak was in the lead with everybody else making the switch to dries, and he just kind of took off and ran his strategy. Um, and it was weird because we didn't know at the time. Um, I kept saying Johan's got to stop one more time, and then when it came down to the very end, he was on the same lap. He took the white flag, and he still hadn't pitted. And so me and Adam both were pretty amazed that he was able to make it. Um, in the AM division, uh, Chris Hopper and Jason Geyer and Kyle Ryan were having an amazing fight. And I'm sorry we didn't get to talk to him more about Emily and his race with Christopher Hopper. But they came in 1 lap apart, and I think Hopper was on about 3 seconds longer on the stands than Kyle was, and Kyle came out in front of Hopper, and then Kyle got kind of tangled up with. I'm not sure if it was a lapper, but something happened that really wasn't his fault from the way Hopper explained it. There might have been some chatter in the afterwards, but um, after the pit stop, it was cool to see Kyle Ryan lead some laps. A couple of new guys in the group too, so glad to see that the league is continuing to grow. But yeah,
Absolutely.
on the very last lap, Johan de Roy ran out of gas after the final chicane. Between the last chicane and the two left-handers before the start-finish line is where Johan finally ran out of gas. And yeah, if CJ hadn't have been pushing him that hard, Johan might have either been able to pull out the checkered flag without having to run an extra lap, or maybe could save enough to finish it without getting pressure from anybody. But the fact that he went 7 laps longer than everybody else on that between those next two stops, I think he mentioned that he was fuel saving from from the first stop. From his first stop, he knew he was gonna have to stretch two laps in one and 3 laps in the other, or 3 in one and 4 in the other, or 3 in 3. So he knew his bed was made. Um, just didn't work out for him. So the way it ended up, CJ Barzak with the win. Jamil Gummer got by after the second left turn 11. I'm sorry. Anyway, towards the end of the track, after Johan ran out, but Johan did hold on for a podium. So I think that's Jamil Gummer's first podium as well. Johan de Roy third, Jay McNeely fourth, Brian Coxon rounded out the top five, Jason Phillips sixth, Justin Thaler ninth, and Keegan Bahari finished inside the top 10. Then on the AM side, it was Christopher Hopper, uh, Jason Geyer, and Ian Bakaitis. 1, 2, 3. Kyle Ryan with his league best finished fourth in class. Pablo Araya fifth. Matt Collada sixth. Ron Kabiltas from the pole finished seventh. Chet Miller, Kevin Bridges, and Keith Hurlbut round out the top 10 in AM. But huge field. I hope we'll see just as many at Suzuka. I'm looking forward to Suzuka, even though it is a 100-minute race. I think the weather's going to be a curveball. I don't think it's going to be as wet as everybody anticipates, but I really don't know. I don't understand the Tempest system. I don't think anybody does, but we're going to see who can be creative and be consistent, not run off track, and still come out with the win. It's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I know. I know it was brought up in our guest segment there, but we are here at Suzuka. That's going to mark the halfway point for the season. 5 out of 10 races. So
That's right.
we're fast approaching the midway point here. So it's going to get interesting. And much like Justin said, we're probably going to start seeing some polls coming out here in the next 3 to 4 weeks, I'd say, if not a little bit sooner, for things to decide the next season. So Road Series is going to be busy as ever over the next handful of weeks.
Double points for the endurance races. And right now, Shea McNeely's leading the points in the Pro Division with CJ Barzak second, Brian Coxon third. They are, I think, like 20 or 30 points apart. Jason Wahlberg fourth, Kyle's an AM. In the AM side, Chet Miller has about a 20-point lead over Jason Geyer and Ian Bakaitis third. So with double points on the line, I think we're going to see another shakeup in the points.
There's some
Mhm.
tight battles there too. Kabiltas is 1 point behind Bakaitis there for third place.
All right.
Yeah, that AM side's looking like a tight finish. So double points battle. It could shake up the standings quite a bit.
Tomorrow night, Suzuka.
Don't miss it.
Bring your
What time?
umbrellas.
Yeah, what time green flag drop tomorrow?
7:25 ish.
Hmm.
Definitely
And
before 7:30.
are you guys starting to stream up a little early, or are you guys starting right around green flag?
Yeah, we've been doing great with being able to get as soon as the GT4s are finishing their qualifying, watching the GT3s roll out, and usually Chase Fincher has been in the booth with us while the GT3 cars qualify and giving us some insight on what we're going to expect. and then looking at the GT4s as well, and um, you know, just recognizing that grid and who's going to be up front, and what we're expected to see. And Chase has definitely given us some good insight on the track, the conditions, and the points battles, and what we're going to see as Chase tries to do his worst to first run again.
All right. So the truck series is coming back Friday nights. I believe they're out at Michigan this week, along with the Cup series is coming back Sunday after a 2 week break, also out at Michigan. So got some fun racing lined up for that. Michigan's a fun track, so should see a good bit of action there. Just want to touch up on a couple things that I missed when we were doing our interview with Kyle and CJ. In the YouTube chat, it looks like we had a couple people make a suggestion on cars for next season.
Already?
Have it.
GTPs came up as a question. GR series. That one looks like it came from Aaron Holroyd.
All right, I'm gonna head out.
uh Keegan,
All
I'm going, yeah, Bahari. So he made two suggestions. First one was GTPs, and the second one was let's do a P Cup. So I haven't raced the P Cup. I don't even think I own it. I don't even know what kind of car. Like, and is it a Porsche?
Yeah, it's a Porsche Cup car, so basically a 911. I think it's a fairly, if it's a
So
992, I don't know, but it's a 911, but no driver aids. Um,
On a power
uh,
scale, is it at or
I
below
don't.
a GT4?
Oh, it's
Like
it's above.
GT3.
Yeah,
Oh,
it might have a
interesting.
little less downforce than a traditional
A little
GT3 as
more
well.
weight,
Yeah.
heavier.
So it's more of a handful driver's car, if you would.
Oh, okay.
So.
If I mean, I was kind of getting interested whenever CJ was talking about the breakdown in divisions, kind of like how you have your pro and am currently. And the first thought that came to mind for me was how in the Rolex 24 you see there was the GTD Pro and the
Mhm.
GTD AM, I believe it was.
Yep.
Um, I, I think if you had more consistent grid sizes, like if you knew every week we'd have 40 cars or so, maybe. But it's definitely a good idea. I know Steve would hate it.
Text channels, league recommendations.
Yep. Throw it in there so we can take a look at it, and I'm sure some fun ones will probably be brought up on future podcast episodes. So
Well,
do you guys have?
considering we started a tech support for everybody to maybe ask the whole community questions, and I thought I made it clear enough what not to use that channel for, and
That's exactly what they went.
Chris Hopper had to use that channel for not what it was supposed to be for.
You never learn, Justin?
So I can't wait for thanks a lot, James. I can't wait to file 13. A lot of those leaks are just
uh yeah, I seen we added a tech support channel to the Discord recently. That looked like it had a little bit of fun to it, at least the conversation leading up to it. Uh, so a lot of fun things are happening here in the Midwest Motorsports Discord. Do you guys have a couple minutes though to break down the thoughts on Daytona, or you guys just want to call it?
I can talk about it. It's depressing being an RFK racing fan.
RFK got walloped over the weekend.
Yeah, we can chat about it.
All right, we'll stick to Cup if you guys are fine with that.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, because I know the ARCA race was a bit of a circus and everything else, but
I didn't get to. That's the only one I didn't get to
On
watch.
TV. They get on
Yeah.
TV, and they ran like 8 green flag laps the whole race.
oh wow,
Exaggerating a little bit, but I'm not
So I
exaggerating.
didn't really miss anything.
Oh my gosh.
you
You
missed a
thought
lot of
rain delay
pacing.
was boring. You thought a
Yeah.
rain delay was boring. Watch them pace in the ARCA car. They like car for some reason. That front valence, um, I mean, they're all the same. They look, I don't know. I kind of like them, the looks of them.
Oh, oh,
You got to really look at the car.
I know. I said we're going to kind of stick to Cup here, but I want just a quick reaction here to Parker Kligerman getting the DQ because of a ride height issue. Do you guys feel that that's something that can change throughout the course of a race? I mean, in my mind, I would feel so. But James, what's your thoughts?
Yes, but that doesn't make it illegal. I remember, gosh, I can't remember who it was now, but this happened years ago, and it's still happening. I mean, it's an advantage when a shock doesn't rebound all the way up to keep that truck low, and so the truck's got to come back up to height after the race, whether it's wear or not. It's got to come back up. They build wear into those shocks, and they don't
Yeah.
call it. You have to have the rules in place. They knew the rules coming in, and shocks don't rebound back up, then whether it changed in the race or not, it's not legal. So I think they
Justin?
have to. I think that NASCAR gives them every chance to try to make it work. They were standing on that thing and pulling it up and pushing it back down, but it rolling
Dang.
it back and forth, they couldn't make it come back up.
Justin, you got thoughts on that?
I mean, you gotta play within the rule book. I mean, NASCAR's always been about, trying to squeeze that little bit extra and navigate your way within the gray areas. But I mean, if you're gonna try and take advantage of a ride height thing, you better make sure it can pass afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
a little deflating for Parker. I mean,
It
you want to
was.
see him succeed and win and stuff, but again, rules are there for a reason. And if in fact it was something that an unfair advantage, then I guess they deserve the disqualification they got out of it. Um, Cup race. So Daytona 500 gets started. They go probably 8 to 11 laps, and then end up getting a commercial break in which it starts raining during the commercial. So that's like uh, the best Daytona entrance that you can get, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, I was looking at the X feeds and leading into the rain delay. Whenever like the TV broadcasters were saying like, yeah, we should have this cleaned up here in about a couple hours. X was very different in what the thoughts were. They're like, yeah, we ain't getting this race started till like 6:30 or 7, which led being how it actually played out. Um, but we were talking prior to the race. These guys didn't have any green flag pit stops that we could recollect, and I just feel like the Daytona race itself, in my mind, has become stagnant. Like these guys play the fuel saving game until they know like, okay, well, we could make it to our window, and we're just going to ride around 2 wide, 3 wide. You seen a point there where the Fords were 3 wide at the front, just kind of like, okay, we're going to save fuel and you guys can't pass, so it's just how it's going to be until that debris caution came out. But James, what are your thoughts on Daytona with this next gen car and kind of the strategy that they're employing here with the fuel saving being the priority before racing?
I think if you take the stage cautions out of it, we got a totally different race. I think that breaks it up just enough to where they know that they're going to be getting a free pit stop, um, and that's their goal. And they're playing within the rules. They figured it out. Um, I'm ready to see the stage. I don't mind giving points at a certain lap number, but the caution part broke up that race to the point where they figured it out. Either change up the fuel tank or change the stage lengths or do something. Green flag pit stops completely change the field and mix everything up. So we saw people even with cautions. We saw people get tied up and crossed up. I know Jimmy Johnson. Somebody stopped right in front of Jimmy Johnson, and he came in the top 5 and came out like 31st because whoever was at the pit box in front of him blocked him basically and had to back up and lost all that time. So I think the more pit stops, we'd have had a different race.
Yeah. But just one quick point before I hand it to Justin to get his thoughts on it. But you bring up the green flag pit stops being a game changer. Look at the Xfinity race, James. I'm sure you watched that one. There were quite a few changes that happened in that field because of green flag pit stops. One of the big ones that comes to my mind is the guy who I can't remember, or I didn't see if he did in fact lose his brakes or if he just missed his braking mark and
Gosh.
completely destroyed that guy getting on the pit road. Destroyed him. Anybody that has not seen the Xfinity race, I apologize for that spoiler there, but you need to check that, at least a highlight reel or something, out on YouTube, because that was some iRacing level ARCA brakes. Yeah, I don't know what you can say about it. Yeah, that was bad. But the green flag pit stops definitely shake things up. So I can get behind the mindset to change it to kind of like a road course where they took the yellows, the caution laps away or the stage laps away, and just awarded the points. I can get behind that. Justin, what do you feel about the strategy, man?
Yeah, before James answered, I was kind of thinking like, okay, how do you? I mean, is fix the word maybe? As far as like bringing the racing aspect back to it, I think it is. I mean, maybe you do it like a road course at some of these tracks, the Daytonas, the Talladegas, Atlanta. Um, some of these tracks where maybe you either just pay out at a certain lap, like James said, how they do it on the road course, or is it time to just get rid of stages altogether? I just think like, I mean, last year was the same scenario. It was, well, everybody's 4 seconds off pace. They're all just going to sit here and save fuel for 60 laps. Wow, that's awesome to watch. I think the only thing that made it cool was I'm a firm believer that Daytona should always be run at night. So after 5.5 hours of waiting around, not watching, and then finally being told, "Hey, we're gonna race," like it was awesome to see Daytona at nighttime.
Yeah. I know what.
I told I told my wife, I said I wanted to watch NASCAR, not sit around and watch waiting for NASCAR.
Yeah. I know Dustin was out there at the track, and he said that after that storm blew through, like you could feel the change in the temperature, and NASCAR put up the little thing and said it would drop from like 82 degrees to 62 degrees, I believe, for an ambient temperature. So pretty big drop, but seeing the seeing the lights on at Daytona, I personally I feel like the 500, you might as well just run it at night, make it a Saturday night race. Why not? Um, Move the Xfinity to a afternoon race and make the cup a night race.
Yeah, I think they got to do something about this whole fuel with the stages and everything. They got to do something different, I think. Hopefully, maybe this one was a wake up call because the same thing happened last year. So I guess we'll see what happens the rest of this year at some super speedways.
Yeah. So as the race progressed, honestly, it looked like it was going to be a Team Penske Ford type win. You seen Austin Cindric up at the front. Logano was a heck of a pusher. Um, Ryan Blaney was kind of poking around there in the top 5, top 10. And then an accident happens and kind of changes the whole playing field because it wraps up a lot of people. And after listening to the post medical center interview that they had with Ryan Priest regarding it, this is the accident where Priest goes upside down. It turns out that it's actually kind of a scary accident. Hearing it from his perspective and listening to the broadcasters break it down, because as his car's spinning and starts to go airborne, or no, sorry, it didn't spin. As it starts to go airborne and then spin, in the air to go upside down. Listening to it gets quiet. And the broadcasters pointed that out, and they said that's probably the scariest thing that can happen when you're going through one of these accidents is it just gets quiet.
Mhm.
You're going through the air and everything. And the fact that Priest said first thing came to mind was he started thinking about his daughter. I mean, they got to look at these cars. They got to look at the underside of these things. I get they put a fin on the back to try and keep these things grounded, but they thought the grass was gonna keep it from happening. And was it Priest the reason why they took the grass out too?
It was all his fault. He just can't. I mean, jokingly, I say it, but he just can't help but to go airborne when he goes to Daytona. Apparently. I mean, hell, what was it? Michigan last year? Is it Michigan? They added the rear little drop down pan, I guess, to help, and then who was it? Barry or was it LaJoy? LaJoy went like. Was at the race that all the announcers, oh, new addition, to help keep these cars grounded if they go, is this blah blah, and they did the cutaway and how it works, and lo and behold, we see another car going airborne. So
Yeah, and they put like
there,
that.
there's a physics problem that is unsolved still as to why this is happening. But
So
I mean, thank God he's okay. Priest is
yeah,
okay, and we haven't
oh
had
yeah.
anything, tragic happen. But that's not to say it's not potentially going to.
So James, I'm going to ask you this, and I want your opinion on this. The first one's going to be kind of a joke in a way, but so there's two possibilities here that I'd like to bring up. The first one is that the other guy in the older series Gen cars that used to roll a lot was Ryan Newman. And these two have basically the same body type. Is there a chance it's just Priest's body type that's causing this? Secondly, before we get into that, is it possible or more possible, it's not his body type more so, it's the underside of these cars being a flat sheet of metal that's causing them to basically lift up into the air when they go sideways? What do you think?
Well, Ryan Newman didn't have the underwing on that older
Yeah.
Gen car. He was doing all the flips, right?
Mm-hmm.
The belly pan, no.
Right. So I don't think it's that, but I do think that the re- the hood flaps and the roof flaps all do the right thing. They need more of it. Um, as soon as the next gen car gets sideways at all, it loses all of its downforce created by the underwing with all the air going under it, ground effects, kind of sucking that car to the track. So as soon as that stalls out, they lose all their downforce, and then any air gets under it. Of course, it's just gonna flip it up like a piece of plywood. I think is the way Larry Mack described it, or Boyer, some one of them.
But that was Priest.
Priest that said it was like a piece of plywood.
Priest said it's like holding a sheet of plywood in the wind.
Yeah, yeah. So if they can figure out how to get the air to go through there and still keep the downforce, like if they had a flap in the belly, I don't have a solution. I'm not a aerodynamicist, but I don't think the two are related, either the body type or the car. It's just the nature of going 200 miles an hour on the track.
Yeah, and those cars were hitting every bit of 200 miles an hour with the in-car cam. So
What they weren't fuel saving, yeah.
yeah, when they weren't fuel saving.
I don't know if you could tell the difference other than with the stopwatch. Looking at them, whether it's in the car or even in the broadcast, the difference
I,
in
I feel
170
like the
100.
the only time you could tell visually that they were fuel saving was when they were all bunched up. Because when
Yeah,
they
they're just
stopped fuel
riding.
saving, you'd see more often than not, you'd see a Ford push somebody 3/4 of the way down the backstretch uh, further than anybody else. Like those Fords are pushing, which again, something that I think Chevy and Toyota need to look into is how they can create that kind of push with their cars. But um, Yeah, that was the only time it was noticeable is when they actually got off of it. You could see like somebody actually pushing somebody.
A lot more give and take when they're fuel saving or when there's no points on the line than when it comes down to the stage caution coming up or the money lap.
Yeah.
Yeah, since I guess we're going all kinds of directions here.
Good.
I mean, I don't know anybody flat out who had a faster car than the 22.
Yep. He was moving.
I mean, hell, he has all the mechanical issues they have. They're swapping out air boxes and throttle bodies and everything else. He gets his lap back because of a lucky dog and starts last, finishes that stage, I think sixth, so bags some stage points. And then he's creeping his way right up front, again towards the end of the race. And I was texting a buddy of mine, and it was, super speedways are always a crapshoot, right? Like anybody can win one of them. Not to say it's not impressive, but I mean, even the drivers were saying like you don't always have to have the best car to win. Say at Daytona, but Corey LaJoie, he had some speed in that 0-1 kids college tuition funded ride that he was in. He had some speed, but I don't know anybody who had a faster car than Joey.
And he was in the front. And usually when you're in the front, you're burning more fuel than everybody else. And he was still on fuel strategy in the front. So.
And I was texting my buddy there before the really big wreck. I told him, I said, look at the top line. You got Corey LaJoie and you got Recky Stenhouse. I said, it's coming. Just wait a couple laps because we haven't seen the big one yet. And then it came.
Yeah. A lot of people were split on that on social media on whose fault it was, whether it was Ricky shouldn't have thrown a late block or Logano shouldn't have tried to shoot for that pass. But we're getting down to 30 to go. I mean, somebody's got to make a move at some point, and Logano made it.
Yeah.
That sounds like a cool down lap poll to me, Ant.
I'm actually just getting the polls ready.
There you go.
I mean, I can't 100% personally. I can't personally 100% blame Joey. I mean, yeah, he went for the move. The opening was there, and I mean, Ricky, he kind of got bumped and moved just that little bit up the track, and instead of saying, all right, I'm going to live for another couple laps here, he also kind of forced the issue. So I could see it being more of a 50-50, but I mean, when Ricky came down to block, for the final time, I'll say, I mean, like Joey had nowhere to go either, right? I mean, he was trying to get that lane and a half, not the second lane. He was already in the lane and a half, so he had Bush under him. And if I was Kyle Busch, I would have just drove my car right into the pond at this point because that poor guy, man, holy smokes.
I mean, he kind of did it to himself too with some of the pit road issues.
Oh, for sure, for sure. But again, he got back up to riding P3. You know what I mean?
Yep. So after all that, they reset the field. I think we had one more small caution after that, and it sets up the green white checker for the end of the race. Nowhere in that is William Byron in that part of the race. I think he's like 10th place or something, 11th place. Looks like Hamlin has a chance. He's set up in second place to win it. And Cole Custer comes out and I think, did he give somebody an aggressive bump?
Was it Reddick in front of him?
Oh, Reddick was behind him.
Who was it was Bell. It was Christopher Bell in front of him.
Yeah, Christopher Bell gave him an aggressive bump.
I mean, well, he was pushing him for a bit pretty aggressively, and it just didn't look like Chris Bell's Toyota was liking anything of it. I mean, he was squirrely, and I mean, I don't know, I find it hard to imagine it was a Ford thing just because of the design of the nose of the Ford. So, and I can't imagine. It didn't look like he was like really clobbering the rear end. So I don't know what really caused it to get so loose like it did. But I mean, Christopher Bell was just sawing at it. In the replays, just trying to keep it straight.
Yeah, it was it was it was a storm. It was kind of brewing up, getting ready to go, and somehow William Byron found his way through it. Uh, and they let them race back to the line since their reason was since the accident was on the backstretch, they were able to dispatch their medical teams and uh, AMR crews to get out there and address the wrecks while the race was going on in front of them. And they let it race out towards the end, which there was no way Tyler Reddick was going to catch uh, Byron in that amount of time without a push. He was able to draft up close to him, but he needed to push behind him, and Jimmy Johnson was just too far back. But uh, Mr. Bill Byron gets his second Daytona 500 in a row, which those things are getting hard to win because it's basically a crapshoot when you go in there on where the wreck's going to be and if you're going to be involved in it. So it takes some sort of skill to kind of set yourself up to survive that race until the very end and put yourself in a place where if an accident does happen, you can kind of squeeze through it. So overall, I'd say the Daytona 500 to me was a little less uh, appealing than what it has been in years past. I think a lot of that is the fuel saving kind of uh, making its mark on these super speedway races over the last season, and you just get kind of tired of seeing it. And you go back and you watch these uh, early 2000 super speedway races where you could have somebody in 20th or 25th place, and in a lap they could get themselves up to the front if they knew what they were doing. So it just feels like these races are getting kind of stagnant until like the last 60 laps. James, can you agree with that, or do you see it kind of differently?
I think that's the nature of a lot of different types of racing, whether it's NASCAR, Aussie V8s, even SCCA. I mean, the goal is to win the race at the checkered flag. So is it boring or stagnant? I think they're running out the laps trying to put themselves in position and find out what's going on. Um, Avoiding the big one is always a thing at super speedways, but trying to get a 0x, in iRacing, is difficult too. It takes a special skill. So, do you drive different in the middle of a race versus the end of the race when you're trying to get a 0x bonus?
Uh,
No?
I think yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. I would drive a little bit different in the middle of the race because I mean it's still the middle of the race. Like you got a ways to go till the end.
Yeah. So, um, but I don't think going 200 miles an hour, three wide, you know, 6 inches apart is boring. If that's our standard, then we sure are spoiled.
But the difference is they're not going 200 miles an hour three wide. They're going 170.
Oh, hell. I don't know how many times you've gone 170, two wide, three wide next to somebody at 40 degrees banking, and
If we had the place to do it, I'd probably try it, but legally, unfortunately, we don't
yeah,
have anywhere to do that.
I bet you need some new underwear too.
I'd probably take them up on the new underwear.
Yeah, all good though. I enjoy it. I think my honorable mention though, and this is all seriousness, um, my honorable mention goes to the Air Force One pilot. When he was doing a stall turn at 40 degrees around the track, I mean, it's the Air Force One's got to have a lot of power, and he did at least 3 laps, basically in a Harrier. I don't know if he. It's basically stalling the airplane and using the thrust to keep you in the air. I thought that was pretty awesome. And then the Thunderbirds,
Yep.
I thought that was incredible.
There's nothing like an awesome flyover before a race. I will tell you that.
I agree with that. JT, your thoughts? Good race, bad race? What'd you think?
I mean, I was cool with it. Denny got wrecked. He didn't win. I mean, it's hard being an RFK fan already when we only get one car that can finish the race. But it was interesting. A lot of new faces, a lot of guys at different teams. I mean, you know, the FRM cars seem to be pretty good. You know, at first I was like, well, we'll see how good they are because you know McDowell's usually a really good super speedway racer, and then didn't take him too long, and Inspire, and he's up there running up front as well, and um, I'm just glad it's back. It's been a while without some NASCAR on, so we'll see. Maybe maybe Atlanta will have a little different of a show for us next week.
Maybe. We'll have to watch it, and maybe we'll have time to break it down next week. I believe we have a guest on the podcast next week. Let me check my notes. Ooh. Oh yeah, we have Brandon Thayer on the podcast next week. Next Monday, so we'll get to talk to him about everything oval related, and maybe we'll break down the Atlanta race with him if he watched it. So, that's all I got for this week, guys. What do you got? Is that it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night's Suzuka race. Glad the NASCAR groups are back on the track. I'm ready to go racing. Get this racing season underway.
Yeah,
For sure.
Suzuka will be fun. I hope that 8 car shows up and has a good run, and hopefully this is the last week with the non-upgraded streaming PC. So everybody, bear with us. We're at the goal line with getting the upgrades for that streaming PC done. So hopefully by next week it'll be squared away and running better.
Awesome. Everybody likes to hear that. So, well, we'll go ahead and wrap up this podcast tonight. Thanks everybody for listening in. If you were on the YouTube channel, make sure you guys are liking, sharing, and subscribing if you haven't already, so we can get the outreach done on this podcast and all of our Midwest Motorsports content, whether it's race, podcast, or our shorts. So, we'll be back next Monday to break everything down with you guys again with our guest for the week. And until then, everybody have a good week and keep the rubber side down.
And as always, don't forget to stay in your lane.
And I approve of this message.